Can you believe Futurama is set in the future but still manages to make fun of everything from human nature to the weirdest sci-fi cliches? It's like they looked at every sci-fi trope and said, let's make it hilarious and completely ridiculous. It's a show where talking heads are a thing, robots have feelings, and a fish-out-of-water guy from the 20th century gets a front-row seat to the future. Imagine waking up 1,000 years later, and the world's a total mess, but you have to just roll with it. And that's exactly what happens in Futurama. Fry, the man who time-traveled into mediocrity. Let's start with Philip J. Fry, the ultimate definition of ordinary guy. Fry's basically just a pizza delivery guy who accidentally gets frozen in cryogenic suspension and wakes up 1,000 years later. Can you believe that? Fry went from delivering pizza and getting dumped by his girlfriend to being thrown into a future where the only thing he has going for him is that he's a nice guy who doesn't take himself too seriously. He's like that dude who somehow stumbles through life and still manages to become the hero. This guy's got more bad decisions than good ones, but somehow, the universe still manages to be like, yeah, let's keep this guy around. Fry's the guy who literally can't get out of his own way, but you still find yourself rooting for him. He's like the relatable underdog who never really wins, but it's kind of awesome anyway. Leela, the one-eyed, kick-ass pilot. Then there's Leela. This woman is a boss. She's the one-eyed, badass captain who can do basically anything. Fly the ship, kick butt, and deal with Fry's nonsense without breaking a sweat. Can you believe that? Leela's out here running the show, while Fry's over there acting like he just discovered that the Earth's round. She's a no-nonsense leader who gets things done and doesn't have time for any of Fry's nonsense, but for some reason, she still cares about him. Seriously, Leela's the ultimate dream girl. She's smart, tough, and probably the only one in the show who's got her life together, which is a low bar, but it still counts. Bender, the drunken, narcissistic robot we all need. And then there's Bender. Bender is the MVP, the robot who lives for himself. And when I say lives, I mean he's a party animal who'll steal your booze, steal your stuff, and probably make you regret being born, all while wearing a tuxedo. Can you believe that Bender's primary mission in life is to be selfish, self-absorbed, and drink excessively? This guy's a drunk, robot thief with a heart of metal. No, seriously, he's all metal. And yet, you can't help but love him because in his own weird way, he's loyal to his friends, when he's sober enough to remember who they are. Bender's the guy who would literally throw you under the bus, but at least he'd do it with a great one-liner and a big OL robot smile. The rest of the crew, the dysfunctional family you can't help but love, the rest of the crew is equally as insane. There's Dr. Zwaberg, the medical doctor who has no idea what he's doing. He's basically the guy you don't want in your ER but you have to deal with anyway. Amy Wong, who's rich and clueless, and Professor Farnsworth, who's so old that his idea of cutting edge is 50 years behind. But somehow he's still a genius. Can you believe the professor is the one who came up with the futuristic technology in the show? Yeah, the guy's practically senile, but he somehow managed to invent teleporters, time machines, and mutant-chasing devices. It's like everything he touches breaks but somehow still works. The Planet Express. The worst delivery service ever, but you'll still watch it. Let's talk about the Planet Express. It's the worst delivery service ever, but somehow it's the best part of the show. They're constantly delivering things across the galaxy, but they never seem to actually get the job done right. In fact, the show's whole premise is basically a parody of how terrible the job market is. They've got a crappy ship, a staff that barely knows what it's doing, and somehow they keep getting hired for these ridiculously dangerous missions. Can you believe that these guys are still employed after blowing up half the galaxy on a regular basis? It's like the worst company ever, but you keep tuning in because it's freaking hilarious. The humor, genius-level comedy with a side of existentialism. The humor in Futurama is on another level. It's like they combine slapstick comedy with intelligent sci-fi satire and pop culture references. Can you believe they've made fun of everything from the internet to your mom's favorite TV shows in the same episode? Futurama isn't just funny, it's smart. The show hits you with jokes that are so deep you don't realize you're laughing at a meta-commentary on life, love, and the universe. And don't get me started on the futuristic technology they make up, which is so outlandishly funny, it'll have you thinking twice about how weird the future is gonna be. The ending? It's like life, weird, emotional, and perfectly fitting. Now, if you've made it this far and still haven't seen Futurama, here's a huge spoiler alert. The show ends in a way that's both tragic and perfect. But the way they wrap it all up makes you realize that the world of Futurama isn't just a joke. It's a beautiful, complicated mess, just like real life. Can you believe that Futurama ends with this heartfelt twist that you didn't see coming at all? And yet, it feels so right? It's one of those endings that'll punch you in the gut, but leave you feeling like you've just experienced something special.